I'm Rev.Jessie, and you're watching Epiphanies. I'm a life cycle celebrant and a metaphysical minister, and on this show I bring together my two favorite things, people and books. So today we are going to be looking at Feelings, Buried Alive, Never Die by Carol K. Trueman. And with me today is my guest, Jessy Morrison.
Hi.
And Jessy is a rebel with a cause. She's a practitioner and teacher of Reiki, EFT, NLP, and many other modalities that relieve people of pain and victimhood. So, without further ado, Jessy, hi and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you here today. Now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the book, and then I want to know what you think. Let me see. She says, I work with individuals, couples, and adolescents. And, well, you know what? I'm not going to struggle. Tell me about the book.
All right. Carol Trueman, in 1991, or probably a little bit before that, wrote this book because it helped heal her of her cancer. Really? Very much like Louise Hay. Okay, everybody uses Louise Hay's book as a Bible. It has all the different symptoms and the different emotions that come up when you have certain symptoms. Carol Trueman has done the same thing, but there's more.
Oh, really?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. If you look at the back of the book, let me see, to give you a page number, 184, 183. She talks about all the different feelings that you can have: abandoned, abused, accused, afraid, aggravated, ashamed, awkward. It goes all the way to Z. Okay, and it's absolutely fascinating the tie-in that she has to the physical symptoms of your body. But if you feel those symptoms that are there, what's missing from your life is what she goes into. Okay, so here we said abandoned. Well, what's missing is the feeling of being cherished or precious or cared for or upheld. If you've been abused, again, you're missing being cherished or sustained or supported or forgiving. So what our society has done is we start looking at all the negative things and we forget to look that there's a polarity of opposites that we need to bring into the life. And all of these things, the reason I like it is because they're all sensations and they all have energy vibrations. So in 1991, she was talking about energy vibrations. That's what the whole front premise of the book is.
That's amazing.
It gives you such an understanding of the illusions that we're under, the stories we tell ourselves, and then getting rid of them. Because, well, there was a lady in here before and she has this sore shoulder that she says she got from carrying a heavy camera. Well, it didn't just happen in that one time. She's probably carried that heavy camera for years because that's her job. But what was she thinking of that morning, or what was happening that month? Did her son leave home to go to college? Did her ex, say that he's no longer in love with her? We go through all these different feelings. So if that happens, like I remember when my brother went off to live in California, my mother felt abandoned. She felt uncherished. She no longer felt loved. But she was a mom. She wanted him to go and follow his passions. But she was lonely. She was alone in her house all by herself now. She was going through the empty nester. She was struggling at work. Work let her go. Instead of giving her a gold watch, they said, "You're old and obsolete, leave." And then a month later, they called her back. "Would you like to come back part-time?" So she had all these conflicting emotions. It was like a big stew of everything that's going on. And she had an angina attack. Wow. Heartbreak, everything else was going on in here, the lack of self-worth. So it's never just one thing. Our society looks for that one answer. There's no one answer. We're this big, I like to call it a stew, this big melting pot of all these things that go on. And sometimes it's sunny and sometimes the stew calms down, but there's always scum to take off the top.
Yeah.
It's like you had Eileen Sampson on your show, or Alex Bullo? We don't know how to say his last name.
It's below. No, below.
He's wonderful, and he deals with men, and he's an NLP practitioner, and he does hypnosis and different things. And what he does is get into these feelings of lack and unworthiness that we have. I don't believe any of us are born into this life feeling unworthy. We come in curious and expectant and expect life to take care of us because our parents take care of us. And then we start getting all these other emotions that are like veils. They land on us like onion skins, okay? And then they cover us and they make us cry and we can't see and we can't feel anymore and we get confused as to who we are. So this book is a great way of getting out of that confusion. Okay, she has in here what I call the prayer. If you're familiar with Byron Katie, she has the work. Okay, well this is very similar to the work. I've got so many tabs in here.
What page?
It's page 95.
Okay.
She calls it the script. Okay, and so in a way it's a self-hypnosis or a meditation to go through. But if we were to use, let's use some. Alarmed. Everybody's in a stressful state. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We're
well,
always
funny enough, I
hypervigilant.
opened it to stressors when we first started talking. So,
Oh, she's got a great chapter on that and
Yeah.
how to explain it to you so that your cognitive mind can understand what you're physically and emotionally and vibrationally going through.
Yeah.
And this is 1991. This is ancient stuff.
yeah,
Okay, 30 years ago. We already knew what was going on.
yeah,
And when you think about that, 30 years before that is when they discovered NLP through psychology and everything. Why is it not mainstream?
yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So the script goes like this. Spirit, body, mind, please locate the origin of my feelings and thoughts of stress. Take each and every level, layer, area, and aspect of my being to this origin. Analyze it, resolve it perfectly. Now she uses with God's truth. Depending on who my client is, I would say with unconditional and divine love. Come through all generations, realities, dimensions of time and eternity, healing every incident and its roots, its tentacles, and appendages based on the origin. Again, here we are, complex. Where did it start? Like when I talk with people, I ask, did it happen when you were 3? Did it happen in the womb? Did it happen in a past life? Because your unconscious mind catalogs all of this. It holds onto it, it compartmentalizes it, and it stores it in the body. Do it according to God's will until I am at the present filled with light and truth, unconditional peace and love, forgiveness of myself for my incorrect perceptions, forgiveness of every person, place, circumstance, and event that contributed to this lingering feeling and thought. And then she goes into self-forgiveness. How many people hate themselves? We judge ourselves so easily. We never say, oh, I did a good job today. Oh, I got up on time and made it with my alarm, and I actually had breakfast. We don't pat ourselves on the back ever. We shred ourselves to pieces. And that monkey chatter isn't what I call the soul. It's the collective consciousness. I don't know if it's the vibrational waves from TV and radio or what, but it doesn't have to be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be there. How can we be our full potential and step out of that victimhood if we're always victimizing ourselves?
Exactly. I studied with Father Jack out of Mount Carmel Spiritual Center many years ago, and he always used the statistics then that by the age of 16 you've had 50,000 negative messages, and to combat that you need 2 positive. So there's 100,000 messages you need right away telling you how great and loved you are.
Yeah.
But then we continue the abuse because we learned it on the way up, and we continue to pick on ourselves.
It's like an old pattern. Our parents didn't get a lot of love. They were always told what they were doing wrong, and they just raised us the way they were raised. But it's like it's up to us to realize how great we are and how good we're doing. I mean, you've got a TV show.
Yeah.
How awesome is that? And how often do you pat yourself on the back for that?
Not very often.
No, you're probably thinking of what the next show is or the next thing you have to do or the sermon you're giving on Sunday, and you're always looking to the future at what you haven't accomplished yet, instead of just taking out 60 seconds or less and go, I did a good job. I had some really cool guests on the show. I learned something new today.
Yeah.
We don't take the time to do that.
Yeah, it really should be something that we start, it should be in the curriculum in our schools, not just up to parents, but the students as well.
But then we're not controllable, are we?
Yeah.
The same with our TV commercials and everything. They tell you everything that's wrong with you or how good you don't look. I think we look fantastic. Why do I have to look like a model on a cover?
Yeah.
I'm no longer 16, and they're making the 16-year-olds look like 25-year-olds. And when they're 25, they want to look like they're 16. It makes no sense. No matter what we do to please society standards, they can't be pleased.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because then we wouldn't be buying things.
That's right.
So it's all consumerism.
It is. Yeah.
I forgot to offer you water. Would you like some?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, because we got to stay dehydrated. I mean, no, we have to stay hydrated.
Hydrated. Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. So, when did you find this book?
I found this book shortly after my divorce. It was 1996. And it was given to me by a massage therapist.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I opened it for 2 or 3 years. It was just there in my presence. It was on my night table. But I didn't have the mental neurology to understand what she was trying to say to me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until after I took Reiki that all of a sudden all of this opened up. I was in pharmaceutical and I was so stuck in the double-blind study and the negativity of everything back then. I was the most positive person I knew, but I was still mired in the negative. You can't be this, you can't get healed, you can't. And I had had whiplash for 6 years. Mm-hmm. I had been in a car accident. It was pretty serious. They didn't do physiotherapy for car accidents and things back then, and I didn't know Eileen Sampson. So I didn't know about, I don't even know if visceral manipulation had been invented back then, or myofascial release. So the Reiki relaxed my body so much that it opened up some sort of awareness and a curiosity. For me, that was my epiphany, if you're going to ask that question. The Reiki just opened me up to what I believed in as a child, or what I knew to be true, instead of all the layering of what education had taught me to not believe in. The skepticism, no, it wasn't even skepticism, it was disbelief in everything. And so Reiki showed me a skepticism that I started to look at things from a point of view of, what has that got to do with me? How does that relate to me? Is that true for me? That kind of thing, which skepticism doesn't mean you don't believe, it just means that you start analyzing to find out how it fits into your reality.
Well, that's the fifth agreement that Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the book about, is skepticism. So yeah,
nice.
So I hear what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. It's listen to everything, but question it.
But question it. And then I started questioning everything about my life that I had adopted for those, from the age of 21 until I was 40. And it was fascinating, because about that time my daughter was very sick and living in hospital, and at about that time my mother came to live with me, and I was told she only had a year to live. And that's when the book called, and I started reading and learning and finding out more, because it all made so much sense. I mean, here on this page 115 she talks about fear, and she has it written, diagrammed as a neurological component in a nerve ending.
Really?
So these synapses are constantly firing. You are not your thoughts. You are the one listening to your thoughts. But everybody gets confused and think, because I hear this in my head, it must be what I am thinking, being. And it's like, I am what? I'm listening. I'm observing to the crazy monkey chatter that's cutting me down and being negative. And once you realize those aren't my thoughts, I don't believe that. That doesn't even sit right. You stop feeling that fear, you stop feeling that pain. It's not even questioning with, I had a client on Saturday, and he's hitting his epiphany. He's been a truck driver for 40 years. He no longer wants to get up in the morning and drive his truck, but he's not even 50 yet. He's not ready to retire. He's wondering what he's supposed to do with his life. And he's believing in conspiracy theories and all this, and I'm going, get out of the victimhood. You have the power to create change. You've now noticed that this is a new awareness for you. Learn more. Take NLP, start reading these books. And I gave him the list of Bruce Lipton and Louise Hay and all these different things to put proper things in his mindset so that he realizes he has power to create change.
Right.
And I think that's what this book for me was. Like, I call myself a rebel. I feel like a revolutionist sometimes, because I want to create change in the world. I want people to realize they're not victims of their pain. Their pain is being caused by this incongruity between the mind and the soul. And this book goes into it. And so I like to, what's the word? I want to give people the ammunition, but that's such a negative word. I want to give them the ability to discern for themselves what is true for them, what isn't true for them. And we're not all in the same path.
No.
So it's absolutely okay. But if we start training our mind to be the observer of what we're feeling or sensing, then we have more awareness.
I just looked down and saw this. Fear is the dark room where all the negatives are developed.
Yep. Isn't that profound?
Yeah, it really is.
So yeah, I love this book, and this is my go-to. And somebody calls me and says, oh, let's see, what was one lady's thing? It's fear. For most people, it's always fear. They come in and they go into the spiral of something's wrong with me. I have a pain here. It must mean I have angina. And it must mean that I have nerve damage. And it's like, no, it means that you have energy moving through your body, and for a moment, you're aware of it. I ask them to tell me when they're not in pain. And they look at me like, what? Because I said, if you're always looking to be in pain, you're going to be in pain because your mind will give you what you're looking for. Tell me when you're not in pain. Tell me when those sensations aren't there. And then we can either know if it's non-awareness or if it's really gone. So it's fascinating. The nerve pain that you sometimes feel, there's a lot of work. So Eileen would look at how the nerves are positioned in the body, what's not getting blood flow and different things. I would look at your mindset to see what else is going on, or your lymphatic system. Someone who does acupuncture will look at the different meridians and the acupuncture points. There's never one system that fixes everything, okay? It's a combination of all of it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. So did you ever take this book and sort of compare it to Louise Hay's and see?
In the beginning I did.
Yeah.
They are very similar. Both of them, like when you look at her probable feelings of causing an illness, these are the things that she found out when she was working. When I work with a person's body, I don't grab out the book and say, oh, let me see here, you've got Addison's disease, so it's a lack of understanding of self. I don't do that. I ask the body, what is going on for you?
Yeah.
It's very individual, but quite often if I'm writing up my notes after a session, I'll go back and go, oh yeah, it was right here. I could have just checked because this is what came up. So I use it as an affirmation or a confirmation perhaps of what I was feeling during the session working with the person and what was coming up for them. Because you actually, she's talking about the different filing cabinets that we store these feelings and emotions in, but it's deeper than that, because if I have a sprained ankle, it could be that I didn't want to move forward on the path that I was doing. Okay, I'm together with Amy Carswell this year, we're doing a course called Dare to Be You, which is an old one that I had years ago, but we're fleshing it out with all the new techniques and the NLP and stuff, so it's going to be 2 full days. But getting my ankle, so somebody else might say, oh, you don't want to go on that path, you shouldn't do that course. Or is it that I need to put my feet up and take the time to flesh out the course?
Right.
Okay, so there's that nuance. Then again, your ankles support you, they show your flexibility in the world. I laugh because last year I broke my toes 3 times consecutively over and over again, and it had to do with my catering to my son, okay, who is old enough to do his own things, and I would jump right into it because I was used to being in single motherhood mode. So by breaking my toes, he wound up doing sessions on me instead, okay, which augmented to him that he still has the talent and the ability to integrate everything he's learned from me, take it into the police force to do what he wants to do, and I had to get my mitts off of him. I'm not in charge of controlling his experience of life. It may not be how I would want him to experience life, but these are his experiences. This is his soul setting up everything for him to move into whatever his path is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of interesting when it comes up. And a lot of it was, yeah, stop working so hard. Take time off. And I thought, oh wow, I've got 24 speaking engagements. Do you want me to drop out? I'm looking up at my soul. Do you want me to drop out of these speaking engagements? And it's like, no, you're supposed to be doing that. Well, so should I have less clients a week? Well, that wasn't it either. It was take time for me. It was do the 5 minutes in the morning of my affirmations and bring in my Qigong exercises and things. And I laugh because this car accident I had in September was me finishing a busy day of clients, putting dinner on the table for my mom, who's now 92. I was about to sit down and have dinner with her, and my daughter called and said, hi, my ride canceled, can you come and get me? And I'm going, oh, it's 10 minutes away, sure, I'll do that, and then we can all eat dinner together. So I hopped in the car, got hit by another car, and sat there for 3 hours. So dinner was getting cold. Laura had to get her own ride. My mother was okay by herself, but it would have been nice to have dinner. And I had to go into, what's this about? And I was running again. It's so natural for me, or all of us, to get on the hamster wheel and run. I could have easily said to her, no, call an Uber. Yeah. Take a bus. Call a taxi. There are a lot of alternatives. But I just was still in my running mode, so I hopped in the car and I ran.
I'm sorry, but it reminds me of the time I got a text from my sister, and it said, "Get up here right away." So I just jumped up, put on my shoes, grabbed my keys, and Darren said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Sue needs me."
Yeah.
And I jumped into my car and I got there. I hadn't stopped to read the next text was, "I just found a huge spider in my bathroom." Yeah. Yeah, so tell me what that was about.
We're rescuers.
Yeah.
We're nurturers. We like to rescue, and we want everybody to have a good experience.
Yeah.
But you know what? We forget to put ourselves at the top of the totem pole and say, I'm allowed to have a good experience first, and then I'll work on your good experience.
That's it, because I had just settled down for the evening and hadn't spoken to her that day.
Yeah.
And it was quite funny, actually, but because she was so surprised to have me show up at her door, because I didn't answer her. I just jumped in the car and drove to her house.
Yeah. No, we do that. That's when we're in this on the hamster wheel and we haven't taken time to get off and just say, wait a second, is this really important? Do I need to jump? But I think, too, that's the capacity of our ability to love.
Yeah.
And we do reach out to these people that we care about and love. I'm like that with my clients, too. I need a session right now. It's like, it's 9 o'clock at night, really? And I've learned to say, sorry, I have an opening on Thursday or on Friday. Slot yourself in, because it's never really that important.
Yeah.
And that's a hard lesson for some of us to learn.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break any toes or ankles or anything else right now, so I'm going to keep studying that one. But yeah, I'm going to the gym now, and I'm going to physiotherapy, and I'm taking time for me. Even though part of me went, okay, well, the whiplash that I had is pretty much gone, and I don't feel this, and it's sort of radiating, and I can study myself, but taking the time to allow someone else to work on me is really important too. I need to be able to receive nurturing in order to give nurturing.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a giver. And with all the Reiki and everything else that I do, I don't feel like my cup is ever empty. But then I guess it could be more full, couldn't it?
It could be.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I know that Laura lives at home and does some amazing work herself. Do you ever take the time
We
to
exchange
ask her?
all the time.
Do?
We do all the time.
Good.
Yeah. And actually, it's wonderful having people in my home that have grown up knowing what I know and learning all of these things with me, because they'll call me on my shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, Mom, is that you? Is that really your thought? Or, you need a session right now. And I'm going, no, I'm fine. You need a session, Mom. Get on the table. So I'm very lucky I have that. Most people don't.
Yeah.
But this is why I say I'm a rebel, because I would like every household to have these skills so that it's normal for us.
Well, it's funny, as you're talking, I'm thinking of my partner. He said to me, I think it was yesterday, he said, I know I'm an empath. We were talking about men not talking about their feelings, because we were talking about Alex Fellow and mask of masculinity.
Right.
And he said, I don't talk about my feelings because I know I'm an empath and I don't know if they're mine or not. And I said, just ask yourself, is this mine?
Yeah.
And he said, really? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Your body knows, your soul knows if that's your stuff. And as an empath, we pick up so much stuff. So just ask yourself, is this mine?
Actually, Laura is doing an empath course in January.
Is she?
She's aiming it at teenagers, but bring them along.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
Or bring them to the Dare to Be You course as well, because we'll be going into different things. So you can detach from all these stories that other people have told you about yourself that really aren't you. They're other people's perceptions. I was told I was shy. Well, really, as a child, I wasn't shy. I was an introvert. I was always gauging what was going on. I wasn't afraid to talk to people. I was just really fussy as to who I would be bothering to talk to.
Yeah.
Or, then other people, like my father, would say I was an extrovert. Well, how can I be shy and an extrovert? How could I be a ballerina from the time I was 5.5 until 19, and people call me clumsy? But I thought I was clumsy.
Well, it's the same as I was told that I couldn't sing, I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. And then a tenant in my house heard me singing to my daughter and said, you should go in the Georgian College amateur show.
I've had exactly the same, and it's really hard to let go of the you can't sing and express your gift. Because I'm always humming, I'm always singing. And my mother says, you could sing opera. I'm going, oh, no, I can't. But in my car, I wail it out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, wow, because I love the Celine Dion songs or any of these things. Lately, I'm pretending to be Andrea Botticelli.
Are you?
I'm channeling in his deep, beautiful voice. But it's so interesting how we take on the negative as opposed to basking in the positive.
That's what I was getting from this book, is that it just, if you think you're tactless, consider thinking that you are tactful, considerate, kind, tender, and sensitive.
And if you tell yourself that for a few moments every morning, really, I wake up in the morning, when I was a child, I would run to the window, and there was a poem I had read, and I would run to the window and stand there, and it was an apartment building, so I'm looking across at the other apartment building, and I'd go, good morning, world, good morning, stars, good morning, clouds. How did you know that it was day? Who told you night had gone away? I'm wide awake, I'm up now too, and I'll be right out to play with you. I still say that.
Oh,
except now I have a backyard with trees and leaves and flowers and everything to look at.
Yeah.
Because that wakes me up. And it's, I'll say to myself, if I'm feeling grumpy or tired or something in the morning, I'll set my alarm for 5 minutes and I'll just go, I love you, Jessy. I love you, Jessy. I love you, Jessy. And I say it to the little girl that I was and the teenager that I was, and I just go through my head all these different stages. And sometimes I get stuck on the woman who went through divorce or the woman who had and I'll just give her a little bit more love. And actually, that's another book you should bring on your show. I've forgotten the name of the author now. His whole process is, if you feel a certain way, you just need more love. If you feel this negativity, you just need more love. So why aren't we giving ourselves more love?
So what's the book?
I will find out for you. I can't remember.
Please do. I'll have to talk about it in another show, because that's, oh, well, that's just something we'll have to do again. I mean, you might get back as a third-time guest. Who knows?
I'd love to.
I've so enjoyed having you here again. You're always so fascinating, and I love it because I never have to say a word. I can just listen and learn, and now I have a whole new book to read. This is fabulous.
An excellent book, yes. You will love it.
I really appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thank you.
And I do hope that you've enjoyed the show today. It's Epiphanies, and my guest is Jessy Morrison. We've been talking about feelings buried alive never die, and that's so true. And I hope to see you again next show. Thanks for dropping in.